3, 2, 1. I'm the Joker baby. That was a quote from Butt Boy. I'm Adam from Your Movie Sucks. This is Sardonicast.
And I'm Alex from IHE, and I'm going to go with It's a Fart!
Oh, yes.
I'm such a child, but that
I mean, it's a good line.
And a really good performance, too.
Yeah, honestly.
From that child.
Okay. Yeah, so we watched a couple movies.
The big one, the movie of the year.
Yeah, so what were your expectations for Joker before anybody saw it? Like, if you were to just judge it based on the trailer, or even the concept?
Man, God, where to even begin? I thought making a sequel was strange with how that first movie felt like a capsule on its own. But obviously it made so much money that it was like an obligated nature of, you have to have a sequel to this, right? We have to expand after the story somehow. And, I don't know, I thought like the production in the trailer looked interesting. There were some good shots. It seemed to be extending some of the, that sadness, that griminess from that first movie. And I thought, I don't know, honestly, the Harley Quinn angle was what was interesting to me, because I don't think that character has really been done right in cinema anyway. And I thought the casting of Lady Gaga was interesting, and thought there was some potential there for maybe like a more serious, down-to-earth interpretation of the character, and maybe there was some angle they'd find there. But then, yeah, hearing about the jukebox musical angle and the courtroom stuff is where I started getting more like, okay, how's this going to work? I was kind of concerned that the joke about that first Joker movie, obviously, is that it's wearing Scorsese's influence on its sleeve to such a degree where it kind of feels like two of those movies combined as its backbone, as its skeleton, and that gives it this boost. So I was just wondering, so what are they going to do? What two movies are they going to smash together for Folie, Deux, to try and capture the lightning in the bottle again? But what I wasn't expecting, I guess, was the contempt for the audience. Just like, no, we're going to do whatever we want to do. We have total freedom, and we literally do not care what the audience thinks. It's just about what Todd Phillips wants to do with a Joker sequel. Yeah, what about you? What was your expectations for Folie, Deux?
Folie, Deux. Duh. Yeah, well, I'm currently more interested in Todd Phillips's career than I ever have been, and not because I think that he's making good movies, but because this is so weird. Just him deciding that he wanted to do this, like the director of The Hangover all of a sudden deciding, like, I'm an artist and I'm going to do things my way, especially with complete creative control and that high of a budget and this being a sequel. It's funny that he decided to do this. And it's one of like there's some people that connected with this movie. There's the odd person
they're out there
that exists that liked Joker Folie, Deux. But my impression is that no matter what anyone thinks that they get out of it, no matter what deeper meaning anyone interprets from this, I'm just gonna take a wild guess and assume that it wasn't what Todd Phillips was thinking. Like, I don't think anybody fucking knows what the hell this movie was trying to be. Like, people have their interpretations, sure, and some of them are kind of fun or interesting, like the idea that it's supposed to be a fuck you to Joker fans or something. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm convinced in any particular way. I just think that this is a case of Todd Phillips being weird and maybe not even understanding what he was trying to do himself, or because when your first
it's hard to read.
Is literally just copy paste King of Comedy, except it's Joker
with the spring thing of Taxi Driver.
Yeah. Well, his first big hit in this genre, I guess. Then him trying to follow it up and being like, I'm going to do this instead, the jukebox musical.
I'm going to sandbag it. Yeah. Like, I hate Joker now. I hate that it was so successful.
Is that what he was even saying? Like, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It's difficult to read because the film is not only like kind of thematically repetitive with that first movie, but it's also like all over the place with what it's doing. Because you would think a movie that's trying to reject the idea of like being a franchise superhero movie and being in the Batman universe and that kind of thing wouldn't also have like sprinklings of, oh, if you're a comic fan paying attention, there's actually the origin story of a character. Yeah, like,
oh,
I don't get that kind of thing. And I was like joking to myself like towards the end, like, oh yeah, Killer Croc's here to like break Joker out of Arkham. Like, there's something funny about it that way. And the whole sandbaggy nature is like, what actually are we trying to say here with these characters? Because I said I was kind of excited for the Lady Gaga Harley Quinn character and how they were going to handle that, but I wasn't expecting, such an on-the-nose sort of, oh, she's kind of written to be the audience of the first Joker movie, and like the whole movie kind of being this post-mortem on Joker, I kind of like as a concept or a theme, but the way it's written is so on the nose, it's crazy. It's like, yeah, what is your intent with this? And do you mind if I read this little paragraph?
Please.
Like, because I found this crazy about this movie and the success of the first Joker. Look, according to insiders, the success of Joker 2019 and the studio's call for a successor allowed director Todd Phillips to have nearly full artistic control over this sequel. This reportedly got to the point where no one could get through to him. He called it a Warner movie and distanced himself from DC Studios as much as possible. The DC logo appears only at the end of the movie. Ignored the creative input of DC studio heads James Gunn and Peter Safran, I would only talk to Warner Bros. CEOs David DeLuca and Pamela Adby. Phillips also resisted attempts by Warner Bros. Discovery CEO David Zaslav's to move filming from LA to London, which have reduced costs by 20%, and refused to have the film test screened, making the Venice Film Festival the first time that an audience saw the finished film, where it garnered mostly negative reviews. Although Gunn voiced his support for the film online, both he and Safran did not attend the American premiere. So that's a really interesting bit of context to me, as well as like when you read the paychecks the three leads got, the two leads and the director
Ka-ching.
Phillips, where I think Phillips and Joaquin got 20 million each and Gaga got like 12, and just that combined is the budget of the first movie, which was around 50 million. This one's budget was $190 million, and while I think a lot of it looks good and the production is decent, I don't know if it's 3 times as impressive as that first movie. In fact, I think it misses a lot of the things that first movie actually did get right, even though I didn't love it in totality. But,
it feels 3 times as long.
Yeah. so what do you think that? How do you think that spins it? As far as like that's kind of what we're usually championing, right? It's like a director to get this level of control. And for a budget this big.
Yeah, but they have to be a talented director. Like, they have to have, like, an actual vision.
Yeah.
Like, the first movie was just copy-paste King of Comedy. And there's things about it that worked. I thought it was decent. It's pretty good. But, like, there wasn't much of a vision there other than, but what if it was Joker? Right? Like, that reminds me of that criticism from... what's it? Folding Ideas, when he was talking about Doug Walker.
Remind me.
Talking about how his like the extent of his creativity was like, what if Batman fought Mario or some shit? Like that's essentially what the first Joker is like, but what if I did this but it was a Joker? Right?
Yeah.
So giving full creative control and like $200 million to that guy, maybe he could have used some notes.
Yeah.
maybe he could have used some notes.
I was trying to remember it. There was like a controversial aspect to the 2019 movie that kind of was a little fart by the end of it. Like before the film came out, there was all this talk about like, oh, it's going to incite violence. It's going to create these riots and stuff like that. I don't know if that is part of the commentary of the film, because that is kind of built into it's all about this like there's 2 ideas of the human being Arthur Fleck and his shadow that is the Joker, and what that means, what that inspires. Is he the Joker? Is it a concept? Is it a result of the mental health problems in the country? And yeah, it's kind of similar to, it was already kind of implied and explored in that first movie to me, and that was the strength of it, was basically Joaquin Phoenix carrying this film on his back with a very good performance.
Give him full creative control.
Well, I think he did. I think this idea for this film came to him in a dream or something. I was reading in like the trivia, and they wanted it to be like a stage show at one point. No, Joaquin.
What?
I think he was like involved with some part of the story, or I don't know. He was definitely like a big player in that kind of thing. And like Lady Gaga releasing a complimentary album well at the same time. It's like everyone. I don't know. It's a really odd film, so I was intrigued by that. And honestly, for the first 10, 15 minutes, I was like, huh, if we keep this up, maybe I might like this. It opens on kind of an animated sequence, like an ode to the old WB animated stuff, which was like kind of fun and creative and new. And it felt honestly a lot more ambitious than the original Joker movie, but it didn't have that skeleton of Scorsese movies to fall back on when things didn't work.
Yeah.
So after those 15 minutes, it started quickly kind of falling apart for me. It just had like no focus or momentum.
Yeah. The first film was a lot more focused. It was also an interesting character study. There wasn't really that much to pull from in this film in terms of like character or motivation even. A lot of it just hinged on, I guess, the outcome of this trial. That doesn't matter. Because it even let's say he's found guilty, it doesn't matter because it's the Joker. It's someone will get him out of it or something, right? And then spoilers for the end of the movie. I guess we're talking spoilers.
Let's just talk spoilers.
It literally doesn't matter because he just gets stabbed anyway.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's a part of the commentary is just like, oh, it didn't matter. Nothing matters. Fine, but the movie wasn't interesting either way. Like there was nothing compelling about it. The singing sucked. I thought it was perfectly fine up until Joaquin started singing. And then it took like the biggest fucking nosedive off of a cliff that I've seen in like a long time in terms of a movie being fine and then just being like, oh, wow, this is actually really bad. You could hear the auto-tune on him. He sucked at singing.
Yeah. It didn't quite fall apart for me fully by that point because there was...
Folie.
There was something interesting going on as far as like this creepy dude singing this upbeat like 60s Hollywood song. There is something there. And he was, at least without the singing aside, like his body language and the way he was moving and whatnot was like creepy and interesting. But you're right. And then as soon as that musical number ended, it does everything in its power to remind the audience that, nope, that was non-literal. That was all in his head. And then establishes this. It's quite clear, actually. It wants the audience to know what is real and what isn't, which to me is a huge miss and also a problem with that first movie where it's
they spell it out.
Man, if he was more of like an unreliable narrator or there was more of a guessing game as to what was real, then maybe I'd be with this more.
Yeah.
But it means these musical numbers, I really didn't get what they were going for after a while because it wasn't really advancing a story.
No.
Or I felt like I was in lockstep with where that character was emotionally. So him singing all of a sudden wasn't really like exaggerating anything or explaining anything about where he was or where we're going or
it wasn't exploring
what we're thinking or what we're doing. Exactly. Yeah. It just felt more like, an ode to the 60s and Lady Gaga's doing her jazzy piano and whatnot. And it's like, it was nearly working on a concept level for me. Like when the whole prison escape sequence, there was something more interesting about that. But I was just thinking to myself, a lot of these scenes would be a lot more effective if the score was just kind of playing in the background and they weren't singing. I don't know why they had to be literally singing. I don't know if he felt like there was a little bit of like dancing and creepiness in that first movie, but it never quite went to that level. The whole like game show fantasy thing going on in that first movie, but it just, I couldn't figure out what like the angle was with that. And honestly, past the hour point when these musical numbers kept showing up.
Yeah, relentlessly.
It is relentless and it's boring and just becomes, each one kind of out cringes the previous one.
Yeah.
By the time you get to that scene with Gaga behind the other side of the glass in the prison thing and they're like singing in that little booth, I was like, I think I said out loud, like, this is really cringy.
Yes.
This doesn't work, and you even get like that cool shot in that scene with the the lipstick on the glass and whatever. And I don't know, little hints of what maybe could be interesting. And there is something interesting buried in this, but man, is it buried deep in something extremely dull. That was honestly one of my biggest issues with it, was just how dull and repetitive it was. I pressed the pause button at a certain point. It was like, are we like wrapping up soon? Are we going somewhere with this? And it was like 57 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, really?
I am so glad I didn't see this in the theater.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't. But the first movie doesn't really flow like that. It's got some clunky elements to it, but it is cohesive, and it's got a building momentum to it as far as that game show thing. It's returning to it. There is like there's a question to it. It's escalating with him as a character, and you're kind of there with him. Whereas this is like, what do you want me to feel? I feel like you have a lot to say, but you're just throwing it in all these random directions, and I don't know what part of it I'm supposed to be picking up, because I don't really... Yeah, this character's sad, and the health stuff that you're bringing up and his traumatic past or whatever, I get it, but we did already kind of cover this in the first movie, and that was explored to its potential pretty much. And then the romance angle with Gaga, it's like, it's love at first sight, and then they're singing about it, and it's like, you're just wasting all the screen time when you could be developing these characters in a way like you did in the first movie, where maybe I'd be with this more, or at least more intrigued. Or it just doesn't go anywhere. Yeah,
and their relationship never felt like real or developed or justified. It was kind of just like, oh, I guess you're here. I guess they're in a relationship now.
Yeah, it was just love at first sight. And the more interesting element of it, I guess, was the whole Gaga... She's like, I'm in love with the idea of you. Like by the brutal ending where he goes to the Joker stairs, and they have that little meeting on the famous Joker stairs. And they keep saying, there is no Joker. There is no Joker. It's just me.
The joke was on me.
Like, okay.
The audience.
Yeah. But they say like there is no Joker, but then the film ends on him being killed by someone who in an interview, that recurring character who's like obsessed with him and kisses him towards the beginning of the movie, he revealed in an interview that he was playing the character Jack White, who those who understand the comics know that that's normally Joker's alter alias, or his name that he goes by. And he like cuts a smile into his face in the background while Arthur Fleck is dying, I guess to hammer home the idea that Joker's just a concept, and now Arthur Fleck is like the inspiration for the Joker or something, and now he's going to go... I really don't know what they're saying with that, outside of like, he inspires riots, and the idea of this character is bigger than the human himself, and look how like weak and pitiful he is on his own, but the idea of this Joker is so powerful and bigger than him, and it's spreading like wildfire, and no one can stop the Joker, but he's also not real. It's just like, what the fuck are we talking about?
It took a prison rape for him to realize that the Joker's not real, actually.
What is with that scene? What did that add to this film?
The way people talked about it, I thought they were going to show it.
But yeah, I did too. But I was still kind of shocked, like where it is in the movie, what it's trying to accomplish for the movie.
Seems like pointless, actually.
Yeah.
It's a weird plot device.
Yeah, as if the character hasn't already been like battered and bruised enough. It's just like, it's like, well, that's the only other angle. We haven't gone sexual with it yet. Let's go that direction, I guess, to hammer home how serious this is. And like, he's like having sex with Lady Gaga in his cell, and then they do the whole pregnancy angle. It's like, oh, is that how there's a new Joker? Is that how Joker lives on? It's through the what winds up being a Joker fangirl basically getting pregnant and then falling out of love with him.
Yeah, there's a lot of sprinkles of ideas.
God, it sounds crazy. I sound like the Joker trying to explain my thoughts on this film.
I know.
Maybe that's...
That's the point. You figured it out. You cracked the code.
Oh my God. It just turns you into the Joker.
There's a lot of sprinkles of ideas that just never get fully explored, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it just doesn't feel cohesive, and it's wasting like a really good cast too. You got Brendan Gleeson in there, Catherine Keener, Alan Partridge shows up randomly.
Steve Coogan doing an American accent was so weird, though.
That is weird.
That was distracting as fuck. Like, not even because I know what he's supposed to sound like. The voice was weird, and also he looks very British too. You know,
what does it mean to look British?
I don't know. It looked like Steve Coogan.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I find it weird too. There are some really British actors when they do that. I find it weird when Martin Freeman does it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, what does it add? It just feels like they're wasting all of this potential with all these high class actors in there, and like Tim Dillon has a cameo. It's like a really weird film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he's been quoted like shit talking it, saying it's like the worst film he's seen, but he's happy to be a part of such a big piece of shit. Yeah, it kind of quickly loses steam and interest and any kind of goodwill I had towards it.
So I guess Vera Drew's probably feeling pretty good right now.
Who's this?
This is the what's the movie called? It was the trans Joker movie.
The trans Joker.
You never the People's Joker? You didn't know about it?
Oh, I never saw that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
No.
it was fine. It was the better movie, is what I'm saying.
Oh, right. What was the thesis of that one?
I mean, it's a lower budget movie, and it was Joker's trans.
Okay.
It's more like a trans coming of age story that they kind of use Joker to tell for no reason.
Because the character's so popular.
It's like with the budget of Hundreds of Beavers, but like not as much talent. And so it's like, oh, this is ironic. We're in front of a green screen. But it's like you still could probably make it look like you'd have filmmaking talent. The story was good. I mean, there are some good moments.
But like, speaking of the budget though, like, is this a nearly $200 million movie to you? Like, I feel like you'd expect a bit more. As far as like the locations are fairly repetitive after a while.
It's just the actors.
Yeah, I mean, it literally did mostly go to the actors and director and filming in LA, I guess, because
for some
just because he insisted.
Yeah, that's weird. Why insist that?
Yeah.
If you're not going to be able to tell.
I feel like they just sprinkle in a bunch of these random lines to try and get your mind wearing, to try and put something on it. Like, there's a random part of the movie where Lady Gaga's like, don't you think it's a little too much? I think it's her that says it. It's like, what, are you just talking to the audience like directly right now? And they're like talking about the Joker movie, the made-for-TV Joker movie that Lady Gaga loves as a character, but then in court they're saying about how bad it was, and it makes Arthur feel all insecure. And he's like, was it bad? And then Gaga says, no, it was great. It's like, oh my God, so we're just talking about the first movie then? Could we not have wrapped this up a little bit more? Could we not have like told a compelling story? Or I don't know. There was something also weird about how a lot of the advertising was using the musical numbers, which at a point just felt to me like, oh shit, we've made this Joker sequel, and most of the movie he's not like in the Joker makeup really at all.
True.
And like the only time he really is like in these musical numbers, but that ultimately aren't really to do with anything. And like that scene where he's beating the judge with the hammer.
Yeah, everything's a dream sequence.
That's a dream sequence, and it's like, but that's also what you'd want to see the Joker character do. Yeah, but these are things you'd want to see in a movie. Like, yeah, the Joker, he's got his crazy plan, and he does wind up smacking the judge with a hammer, and then makes a joke about it or whatever. But then it's also like the film has no interest in doing a Joker movie. Like, as far as like, this is the Batman and the Joker, and we're doing that. It's not interested in that.
Could have been a spin-off.
So it's like, so what are you interested in? You're trying to like deconstruct the concept of the Joker through this like sad human, but we've already done this in the first movie. They're not opening anything new, really. So it just feels so repetitive after a while.
Yeah,
and like the whole Harley angle, where she's like, the character's like a nurse who kind of is won over by the Joker, and then like helps break him out or whatever in the books. But here she's like already in the asylum, and it's like, yeah, and then I'm actually a rich kid, and I'm a nepo baby, and I was like, what are we? Like, what are you saying? What does it mean?
I just like attention.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, she starts like a fire within the piano, and there's the whole like escape sequence.
Yeah,
but yeah, he killed like 5 people. I don't know why he's like allowed near. I don't really get that.
They trust these inmates and all of these people there with a lot of fire.
Yes,
there's a lot of fire hazard in this movie. Everybody just smokes, has a lighter, and then gets surprised when someone lights something on fire.
Yeah, I guess like it can all just be explained with like, oh, they're corrupt, and I don't know. Like, how are they conceiving a baby in solitary confinement?
And it's all in his head anyway.
Oh yeah, and it's in his head.
Yeah, well, I think that was in his... I think most of it was just in his head. That's my interpretation. It's like nothing really happened.
That's like a cop-out.
I know. I think the whole movie was a cop-out.
It's such a cop-out. Yeah.
I think the whole movie was filler.
It doesn't feel like this... I kept thinking about Freddy Got Fingered, actually, because a lot of people say that about that movie too, right? Where it's like a big middle finger to the studio system, and he got this big paycheck for this, and like it's so overt and over the top, and it's like, yeah, this rebellious filmmaker doing what he wants. But here it's like, I mean, you can say that, I guess, but he's like sandbagged his career. The potential for any more films probably under WB. Yeah. Because like surely with that success he could have leveraged that to like make whatever artistic project he wanted.
And then he did.
That isn't a Joker movie. Right?
This is what he wanted to do.
Like but I don't believe it though.
I know.
Because like he got paid $20 million for it too. So it's like he gets the best of both worlds. He can just do whatever. There's literally nothing on the line for him. He made the first Joker. He's got his paycheck. They've all got their paychecks. Like, but then the studio, like, it's bombed, obviously. It's not bringing the money back. Yeah, I'm the film. Todd Phillips was the Joker all along. You get it? I'm making a joke of the audience. Isn't that funny? Isn't that hilarious? It's like, could you not just, like, build that into a story somehow? Or, like, I like the idea of deconstructing it and this shadow thing. But it's all buried within the themes and through the actual like plotting and the scenes. It's all lost to me as far as like anything to like guide you through it.
It should have been just like a direct to Max spin-off and not advertised as an actual sequel, in my opinion. I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah, or make it like a stage show thing, or make it like a 3-part miniseries. And I don't know, I mentioned in the review, I remember for the first movie, something about like, I just don't like the idea of these solo villain movies that don't have the hook of like, the whole point of Joker is that he's the inverse of the Batman character. It's like this one with rules and this one that's like anarchy, and there's something fun about watching them clash constantly. But then, I don't know, I've been watching that Penguin show, and you know, it's really solid. Okay. Colin Farrell's great in it. It's really compelling. It's like
compelling?
They're not talking about Batman all the time. Genuinely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of carried on his back.
I'm very hesitant to start watching it.
I was too, but I don't know. I'm 7 episodes in as of recording this. I think it's really solid. There's like a really great new original character. The performances are really great, especially Colin Farrell. The makeup is amazing on him. He's like a funny, interesting character. It's like delves into his relationship with his family, and it's like a character study. Like not like that first Joker movie, but you know what I'm saying. Like there's something interesting about it. There's something compelling about it. And that's kind of all it really needs, right? It's like, yeah, make this a character study. Give us some kind of hook here. Give us something. But what is the hook of this? Because it's not for fans of the original Joker movie. It's not for Batman fans. It's not for DC people or comic people. It's not for like who is this for? Outside of the director.
It's yeah. I mean, that's reflected in the box office numbers. Is that it's a real who is this for type movie. Mm-hmm. Like it feels like not even everybody who liked the first movie saw this. Like enough word of mouth, and also just like I don't know, like conceptually, is anybody really interested? As soon as you know, oh, it's a jukebox musical courtroom drama. As soon as you know that, is anybody actually interested in watching it? Because I know I wasn't.
No,
I mean I kind of was to see what it was, but. Damn, you know, really glad I didn't see it in theaters.
It makes it more curious.
Yeah.
I guess, but like not in the right way, I don't think. I don't know, because either of those things on their own would be a hard sell. And putting them both together?
Yeah.
Like that's what makes it feel like an intentional sandbagging thing. And it takes 54 minutes to even get to the court scenes. I noted it down intentionally because I was like, this is so plodding.
I mean, it was more interesting before it got to the court scenes, though, in my opinion.
I agree, because I actually kind of liked that first 15, 20 minutes before we started getting into the Harley stuff. And there was, I don't know, I like Brendan Gleeson carrying it along, and that whole scene where he's getting shaved and there's a little dot of blood that he like licks off. And so oh, this is kind of cool. The overhead umbrella shot. So I kind of like the vibe of this movie. But yeah, and the lighting and the colors of it, but man, it just doesn't, it can't hold it. It's got nowhere to take you. I really just can't figure out what it's trying to say. Because there's the whole part about like trying to figure out if he's competent to stand trial. That's kind of what the first hour is largely about, with the like Alan Partridge interview, and they're talking about some kind of martyr, and in the background there's these rumblings of outside the courtroom there's the people dressed up as Joker, and that all comes to a head with one of the random Joker fans bombing the courtroom, and so Joker can escape, and then they chuck him in his car, and they're talking about, yeah, this is the start of something big, man, but then he doesn't want anything to do with it and breaks out of the car, and it's like, what? It's like kind of saying everything. So whatever you want to take away from it, you can find an example of it. But yeah, at the same time, it's really saying nothing. So if you want to sit there and read it like a book and really delve into the themes, it feels like you're putting that onto the film more so than actually exploring it in an interesting, satisfying way. And it's just crazy to do that with this character to me. Like it's really not what is interesting about this character, I don't think. And it was kind of my issue with that first movie too, where I don't know if there's enough really there. I need like this character contrasted against something, and I thought maybe that could be the Lady Gaga character or something, but no. Harvey Dent, hey, you mentioned it earlier, like what are you supposed to actually take away from that? Like,
wow,
the bombing
dude.
happens and then it's like, whoa, look, it's a reference to, oh no, this is for the comic fact, but who's gonna know? Like, it's
Nobody
really
cares,
baffling,
yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. Like, why does that matter in this film that Harvey Dent gets? Is that a reference? Is that just like a for the fans nod?
Just so we know. Because we were all dying to find out.
Or are they thinking like in the back of their minds, yeah, we're not going to do another one, but just in case it makes another billion, like we'll just put these sprinklings of things. You know, that's what the Harvey Dent thing feels like. What the ending of the film with the Jack White killer feels like as well. It's like, I don't know. You can just pluck at any of it.
It honestly felt like I thought that Joker was a strong enough IP that this would just make $1 billion, even if everybody hated it.
I did too, to be honest.
Because, Jurassic World, Dominion, $1 billion. 0 people liked that movie. Everybody watched it and said it was bad, and everybody watched it anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This movie...
That's kind of the only thing that makes it interesting in the end, is the fact that it didn't manage to do that.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Because, like, man, the imagery from that 2019 movie, it's like iconic now. People love that film. They are obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. It has amazing reviews all around. The audience loves it. Maybe not critically, but it has an enormous audience and really connected with people. And I don't know if there's something to do with like the way he conceptualized that original movie, with like he didn't want people to like the character as much as they did. Because that was like the takeaway from the movie, was that people had endless sympathy and were like, I've got nothing but sympathy for this character, and they're there with him. And maybe he didn't like that about that movie, and he wanted people not to enjoy it as much and be more sickened by it, but they weren't. So is this like the response to that?
Yeah,
it's like, no, I'm gonna make you hate the Joker now. You can't like this Joker that I made. It's like,
I get to decide.
There's something very frustrating about that, and I feel like the audience has picked up on whatever that energy is, whatever that reactionary or reactive response to that first movie is. And the distance as well is interesting too. 2019 is a long time ago now. It's like 5-year gap, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really feel, I feel like making a successful sequel to that film would really not have been that difficult if you just use the model of the first movie.
Yeah, if you wanted to make $1 billion, you could just shit out the same movie again if you really wanted.
Yeah, just take another couple classics, combine them, and put the Joker in it. I feel like that would be the winning formula. So was he like, Was he sickened by the success of it and was like wanting to make sure it didn't happen again? But why would he feel that way when this is the same guy who made 3 Hangover movies?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. That's why he's so interesting to me now. Is because I have no idea what the fuck is going on in his crazy brain. Like, he could be the next Neil Breen or some shit. I don't know.
That's what I don't get, though. Because it's like, you had carte blanche after that movie to do whatever you wanted. Like, you made a Joker movie that made $1 billion and didn't even have Batman in it. A baby Bruce Wayne. Another thread that, like, I guess is forgotten. Like,
yeah, not important.
That was like a big part of that first movie. It was like, yeah, we're making sure you know this is in the Batman universe, right? We're mentioning Batman, his dad by name. That's like part of the story. He thinks like Bruce Wayne's dad is perhaps his dad, and there's that whole thing going on. And this one's like outside of the Harvey Dent and the random thing at the end. There's really very little effort to make it come across like it's in that world or that's important to this film. It's like, I don't know, it seems like kind of intentional, that angle. It's so strange, like trying to pick it apart from that direction. But it's like, we're not even talking about the film at that point. We're just talking about Phillips. Like, sitting down and watching the film is not an enjoyable experience.
That's the interesting conversation. The film is not. Trying to figure out what the fuck was going on in his brain.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the film itself, like, there's no tension, there's no momentum. I cannot emphasize that enough. There's no momentum to the way the film moves.
No.
And no tension to any of it. There was an underlying tension to that first movie. Like, you're kind of waiting for this guy who's just getting beaten up and beaten on and beaten on. You're waiting for him to snap in some form with the expectation of what the Joker is, like, collectively in everyone's minds. And then you get that with that, you know, the scene at the end with De Niro. But there's nothing like that here.
No.
Yeah, of course, that's not going to connect with broad audiences. That, you know, getting a broad audience to even check out courtroom dramas as it is kind of a bigger ask. Like, I don't know. It seems weird. And then even if you can't put the Joker in there and then make that interesting or work, because it's, yeah, I don't know how to pass it. And there is something disingenuous about that marketing too. I gotta mention, because yeah, all the like best looking shots and moments that look like, oh, this is going to be bombastic in some way. This is going to build to something. They show the big explosions in the trailer and whatnot. It's like, and when you actually get to see those scenes within the context of the movie, it's so like deflated and okay. So either this didn't real, and we've made so damn sure you know it's not real that there's not even a question mark really. Like you're saying, you don't think a lot of the movie is literal and is supposed to be in his head, but that just feels like, I don't know, putting it onto the film, because like it seemed overt with like what it was trying to communicate as being in universe and in the character's head. But maybe that's going over me, or like, I felt like the first movie did that too much with his like
the flashback imaginary
girlfriend and stuff like that. Yeah. And just being like, why are you just hammering home the literal nature of these scenes when I'd kind of like to be left guessing with someone who's supposed to be in a mental state that is unpredictable and all over the place, and he needs to be medicated, but he can't get it. And that's like part of the point of the film. It just doesn't really do that.
Yeah, the marketing was kind of like Kangaroo Jack.
Worse.
Everything interesting wasn't actually happening.
Kangaroo Joker.
Yes.
But who had expectation? Like, what are your expectations for the Kangaroo and Kangaroo Jack? You know, compared to like the Joker. Everyone knows this character. He's like, he must be like the most popular Halloween costume by now. You see, like millions of people dress up as the Joker. They are obsessed with this character. Ever since The Dark Knight, he's like just taken off. He's the main attraction. And even that, you know, the last time he was big in cinema with Jared Leto, that Suicide Squad movie with him in was abysmal. But like, people still watch that movie. It made hundreds of millions of dollars. It made more money than this movie. And it's just something about that character that connects in a way that I don't really get. And I didn't really get it with the previous Joker film as much. But yeah, it just seems like even the director and everyone making it is sick of it as well. Like,
yeah, they don't actually like Joker. They don't care.
Yeah. And, like, what do they want to do or say with this character? Like, I just can't believe it. They let this happen. You know?
It's what he wanted. He probably wanted to make no money also. I mean, he already made his
Exactly,
money.
yeah. He's got tens of millions.
He probably wanted to just run this into the fucking ground.
So, like, is he going to retire? Is he going to retire from films?
He should.
From directing? I think that should have been the announcement, like, right after this was finished. Like, fuck all you, I retire. And then maybe there'd be more of like okay, at least this is funny on like a meta level where like, maybe he was sickened by the success of the previous movie. And
it was a trick.
He's just sick of the Hollywood system and it was just literally a troll. And he just got his and it's just 2 hours, 20 minutes of middle fingers up at the screen. Yeah, it's fun to speculate, I guess. But like Lady Gaga, I think is like upset about this, and like she's never been a part of a project that has
been bad,
not been well received like this. You know, like not just like not just bad, but like hated. People hate this film.
I think it's funny that Quentin Tarantino considers this film to be like a fuck you to comic book geeks and Hollywood, because it seems like there's a good chunk of people that think that this movie is like a fuck you to Hollywood and the Hollywood system, which I think is amusing, having a movie where you have a $200 million budget and full creative control being a fuck you to the Hollywood system. Like,
yeah. So how do you explain the like reverence for the like 60s Hollywood musicals then? Is that like ironic?
I think it's the same reason Seth MacFarlane has all the show tunes in Family Guy. I think he just likes it. I think he has a fetish for it. He wanted it in his fucking movie. He's like, oh, I like these things. I think he thought it was art. That's my interpretation. I think he genuinely thought he was doing something.
How can it be a statement, an anti-Hollywood statement, if it has something genuine like that in it, like a genuine love for something? Or
I'm not sure it is. I don't know what the fuck he's thinking. I'm not convinced it's an anti-Hollywood statement film.
No, but also how would it also be an anti like comic book nerd thing as well though?
We gotta ask Quentin.
He still made the other Joker movie.
Yeah, that was like his idea, wasn't it?
It was his idea, and it was ungodly successful. It was released in that time where every superhero movie, including like Aquaman, was making $1 billion, but people genuinely connected with it. And I don't know what to think about that. Because I'm not convinced either. Like all these theories seem like equally reasonable to me. And it just gives him like the ultimate out, you know? Because with the Hangover movies, there was this kind of almost like self-aware disgust with themselves the longer they went on, and almost like this nihilism that grows with them. Like by the time you get to that third movie and it opens on like a giraffe being like decapitated on a highway, and it's like what is funny about this? It's just like, is that like middle finger up thing as well? Because you're all sick of making sequels and Hangover movies, but it's like, you're also getting paid millions and millions of dollars, and you're in a position that people would literally kill for, if not worse. So there's something tone deaf about it from that respect to me.
He literally got free reign to make whatever movie he wanted, and this is what he did.
Yeah, but then isn't that like if he wants it to be an FU, to include someone like Lady Gaga who is giving it her all and like making music for it and stuff like this, and is like devastated by the response and how it didn't come together, but also would have read the script and must have liked something about it. Someone must have been convinced by something. And to have these like amazing actors like Phoenix and Gleason and Keena, why would you cast people like that if you knew it was going to suck, or that's what you're trying to say with it, or is it just missing? It's too up its own arse, as it were, of its own butt boy to like really communicate what the complex themes it was trying to do. Maybe it's just the combined writing talents of Scott Silver and Todd Phillips maybe aren't able to communicate these themes in a way that's entertaining and can be hidden within a comic book movie. Because like, you can hardly call the 2019 Joker a comic book movie either. It was one of the things that made it more alluring, I think, to people and like interesting. because it looked like a real movie. It's got like lighting. It wasn't all on a green screen soundstage. Like it had this score and a different tone and was a character study and these things you want to see from a movie, you know? And that's like, yeah, this reaction to it. What's it saying? It's driving me crazy. I'm going to start Joker laughing.
I don't think you're ever going to find out. I think you're just going to have to let it rest or let it haunt you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Well, it's also just not that interesting though either.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. So you'll forget about it.
Tarantino was also joined by Kojima.
Yes.
Who, like, just the other day was tweeting about how...
like, unsurprisingly.
Mm-hmm. Well, normally when he sees something that sucks, he's just like, I saw Joker too. But he like wrote like paragraphs about this film, so I don't know if that's just like his creative mind or whatever, having this like, he's just taking the concepts away and like rolling with it. I don't know. I don't know how to read it. I kept thinking about that through the film, like, what am I feeling right now? I didn't feel anything. It was just kind of like conceptually kind of interesting, like deep within like actually what you're seeing, but like it's not really being communicated clearly, and it's all over the place, and it's dull and repetitive in structure and doesn't go anywhere, and it just gets more and more embarrassing as it goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read into it too much. I just think it's a funny little fart. And
but like, did you find it funny, like entertaining that way, or like when was your breaking point as far? Because it's a long movie. Yeah, exactly. It's like 2 hours 20 minutes long.
I was mostly bored, but I was doing like a fucking watch along on my Twitch thing, and there was a lot of music, and I would just like play along on my keyboard and kind of jam out.
I do our own fun to it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it can be what, you know, you can make fun out of anything.
Like the Joker, it can be anyone.
Yeah. I thought it was really funny when he got stabbed, and then in the fake stage universe, he's also stabbed, and then he starts singing. That was funny. That was a good moment.
Yeah. a good, in quotes, moment.
Yeah. I thought the line where he said, "Knock, knock, who's there? Arthur Fleck. Arthur Fleck, who?" I thought that was funny because it was like unbearably pretentious. Like, who is the Arthur Fleck? Who am I? Oh, my shadow self.
Yeah, yeah. There were loads of lines like that. All we heard was the fantasy and you gave up.
Yeah, it's just it's a very like pretentious bad movie, and I can't believe that it was made. It's just kind of useless.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, the more I think about it, there is something kind of pretentious about it. With like, I'm even thinking now, like the judge character, the recurring judge character, he was like intentionally cast to look like Scorsese, right? Like he had the big thick black rim glasses, and he was like an old man. They look like the same. So it's like, what are you saying with that then? Are you like building in that commentary or critique of that first movie, or is it just simply a reference or an ode to your love of the king of comedy? But you already kind of did that by having De Niro in the first movie. So is that just an extension of that idea? Like, it's so open. You could just go on forever listing like, is it this? Is it that? Maybe it was this it was going for. Oh, that would be interesting if it was about this theme expanded. Oh, that, and it's like, no, it's just dull.
It would be more interesting if it was crazier. If this wanted to be like whatever, you know, read into the subtext and things aren't actually happening and blah blah blah. If it was just crazier, you know, if it was just, if it just had something more to it, just different scenes instead of like 2 locations for a fucking $200 million movie, like. No locations. Like,
yeah, because by the time I was like, there's like a sigh of relief when he breaks out of the courtroom, and he's like running down the streets of Gotham. I was like, some like movement, something's happening. Like that, you know, there's some excitement or something to watch. but yeah, it's like by that point it's so deflated, it's so uninteresting. Yeah, there's no hook to this film.
All right. Well, I mean, I've said everything I wanted to about it. How about you?
Yeah, I'm just looking at my notes. I don't think there's much more. I only watched this yesterday too, and there's not really much I haven't really thought about it, to be honest, outside of just watching it directly and taking my notes when I did.
So allegedly, they told Lady Gaga to not sing as good as she usually does, so it'd be more natural. And so some people were using that as an excuse to justify Joaquin Phoenix's terrible singing voice. But I think that doesn't work as an excuse because he's auto-tuned to shit. So if it's supposed to sound more natural, then you wouldn't want it to sound like he's a robot, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just, from that jukebox musical scenes, I just wanted like just something compelling or some point to them, you know?
No.
Where every time it happened, it felt like it was like putting the movie on pause for a second just to do this ode. And it's like, man, if they could have fixed that, it was kind of reminding me of Music, weirdly. Like, that movie has kind of a similar structure with that sort of thing. Except actually in Music, it uses it better.
Music was funny.
At least it's like communicating something that the characters... I can't believe I'm fucking praising Music right now.
Hell yeah. See a sweep.
Dude. Yeah, but it's also like the courtroom stuff's not compelling. You need someone who can actually write compelling courtroom dramas.
I was just zoned out for a lot of it. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about my how to optimize my second B camera setup after my room reorganizing.
Yeah, it is one of those where it's like, did I leave the oven on kind of movies.
Yeah, 3 out of 10.
Yeah, big miss, crazy. Yeah, man, I would give it lower. I'd give it a 1 star.
Nice.
Or I guess a 2 out of 10. I think the production is solid, I guess. Like, it's well shot. There are some good shots in there. It's often just at the expense of nothing, though. A lot of the performances are strong. The cast is good. Every technical element is there, but it's like what it's in service of is not interesting to me. So yeah. Nuh-uh. There was no Joker.
No. Ever. The first movie didn't exist, actually. All right. Butt Boy. See, the title has something to it. And I think that's why I watched it. Because there's a lot of things that wind up in my watch list for one reason or another. Someone will just be like, hey, add this to your watch list. And I'll be like, okay. And I think I prioritized this one because of the title. I think I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch Butt Boy.
Wait, so how did you find it originally?
I don't know.
Oh, so you didn't see it at like, I saw it debuted in Austin.
No.
Texas.
I've never done Fantastic Fest.
Okay, so it was purely that name.
Yeah.
It was already in my watch list too, but yeah, as I say, like, I just never got round to it. So you'd seen it before? Just the once?
I've seen it. This is probably my like 5th or 6th watch.
Oh, wow. Okay. Butt Boy fan over here.
It's something, I watch it every like year or two.
Oh, cool.
I guess it's only been 4 years since it came out. I've probably seen it like 5 times.
Same year as Joker it came out, actually.
True. It's not even that I'm like a huge fan. It's just that there are some scenes that are just so funny that it's just worth the entire thing. Like the entire experience of the movie, even if the whole thing isn't like super compelling or super well shot, there's like some parts of it that are for sure repetitive, and there's a lot of room for improvement. But those few lines and moments and shots and concepts are just so outrageous that it's worth the whole movie. And it's not only worth the whole movie, but it makes me want to show other people the movie. This is one of those films where, even though I don't think it's amazing, I think everybody should see it.
Yeah.
Like everybody's got to watch Butt Boy.
It's I think you nailed it with the concept thing.
Yeah.
Man, did they commit? They committed to the Butt Boy bit. They really. And it's wacky. Like explain like the premise. Like, sell people on Butt Boy.
Butt Boy. It's kind of like a villain story, like Joker. But basically the main character or villain, like, I don't know, which one's the main character?
The titular Butt Boy.
Yeah, the titty Butt Boy. He gets a rectal examination, I guess like a prostate exam.
Yeah.
And it's his first time, and he likes it so much that he needs to start putting other things up there. And he starts with a bar of soap and then a remote, and you can see his character transformation. He needs this more than anything, and it starts to take over his life as an addiction. And there's a supernatural element to the film where he can put like entire children like he can,
and dogs
and dogs. He can fit a lot up there, and it's like a portal almost. It's yeah. So I don't want to spoil too much, I guess, but
that's the hook.
Yeah, that's the hook. Is that there's so much room up there, but he gets more powerful the more things that go up his butt.
That's a funny line.
Oh yeah, that's great.
It's just a theory. Yeah. It's just my theory anyway.
I like the concept of the officer explaining that, the detective explaining that to the police.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the funniest scenes, to be honest.
So you're telling me.
Yeah.
Still got like a really good idea of what's going on.
Yeah. And the police chief's just like, it just so happens. And keeps saying, yeah, it just so happens that we're going up his butt and he's getting more power. Oh my God. Yeah, I actually, at first I was like, oh man, I kind of don't like that this guy's the main character. Because how far can you take this? So then when it does the switch to more of the like procedural, like detective angle, I was like, this is it. This is how you do it. Having him be like the antagonist of the movie is hilarious. That's such a funny spin on it, and using that like, you know, the typical procedural structure in order to get the plot moving and move along. Yeah, because I much preferred that other character, the detective, and it's so like deadpan. He's playing it so serious that adds to the humor, obviously. And I think that's part of what makes it work overall, because it's such a truly absurd concept. So to sort of sell it, this is the right angle to do it, and kind of the only way to do it with this budget, I would say, because that's another thing I was honestly impressed by. Before watching it, I saw 150k budget, so kind of set my expectations for what sort of film this might be. And with that in mind, I was quite impressed actually with how it was put together, with some of the creativity of like the shots. Like, just a random one popping into my head is when later on in the film, there's a train that's kind of in the background, and it seemed to me like, on this budget, were they just like looking up when the trains were going to be going past, and they like set up this shot quickly? And I don't know, there's a lot of like kind of scrappiness to it, which I really liked as far as that stuff's concerned and how it's put together. But yeah, it was like, how can you take this concept to its logical extreme? And they do take it to its extreme by that third act in particular. It got funnier as it went along. It got more compelling as it went along. And yeah, it just overall gets better as it goes along. And it's not a one-trick pony with what the opening kind of scenes might make it feel like it's going. Like, oh, he's just going to keep putting more and more things up his butt, I guess, and they're going to get bigger. Like, where can you go with that? But they find the angle. They figure out a way to do it. Yeah, weird film, but like clever, weirdly as well. Butt Boy is kind of clever.
Oh, yeah, the title's really good too. This is actually this is, I guess, created by this filmmaking. I don't know if it's just one guy, but he has a YouTube channel called Tiny Cinema, and it has 16,000 subscribers. And this is based off of one of their like minute-long short films. It's uploaded in 360p in 2016, and it has 44,000 views. So it's not even like, successful YouTuber makes a movie sort of thing. This is just, they have
just like that one.
A small thing, and then they decided, this is the concept we're going to turn into a feature, is Butt Boy. And basically the short is just like, I don't know, the first minute of the film, just not as much production value.
Yeah. And the Butt Boy in question is the director, right?
I don't know. It could be. I'll have to look it up. Actually.
Yeah, I think if I look at when I search his picture,
Tyler,
it looks like the
Cornack,
yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, he's the Butt Boy. I feel like that makes sense because like there's a lot of like nude scenes and like
to ask someone else to do that is lot.
And to like be the villain and whatnot, like I respect that.
The guy just wanted to show everybody his butt.
Sometimes it's as simple as that,
and he found a way to do it. Yeah, there's a lot of his butt in the movie.
There is, but that's, I don't know, that commitment to it is what I like about it, where it's like it doesn't feel like a 1 minute short stretched out to an hour and a half. Well, there are echoes of that, but it's like there's more going on, weirdly, in a way that you wouldn't expect from something based off a 1 minute short. With like where they take it, where it goes. Are we talking spoilers yet?
Yeah, let's do it. Watch Butt Boy,
because especially as I say about it, like getting better as it goes along, especially towards the end where you go into the Butt Boy. And just the way it's like presented. Yeah,
just a cave
with
set.
Like I read they went to the Bronson Bat Caves in LA somewhere.
Oh, like a real cave. And then they just did red lighting. Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, they're actually in a cave system, but obviously like the way they lit it and they put the red lighting, and it's like all kind of shaky, and there are these particles in the air to kind of obscure things. And like that was another thing that was working for me. It was like they show just enough and imply just enough. Like with that budget, maybe if this was like $50 million or something, you'd expect to actually see a bit more craziness as far as the visual effects. But with what they do, with showing like he gets another exam later on in the movie from a doctor, and like the way that's put together is funny, with these like flashes of close-ups of like fingers from the inside of Lemmy Wink style, like inside the tubes or whatever, and the editing of it is does what they can with that budget to present this idea. And they do a good job of that.
This is a more ambitious film than Joker 2.
Yeah.
There's more sets.
Well, actually lands it though as well, is the difference. They might both be ambitious, but this actually like takes the concept to its extreme and manages to do it somehow. And that's with a $150K budget. Like that's like a fraction of what Lady Gaga was paid for the full film.
It's crazy how many movies there are that are like solid that are under $1 million in the past like 5 years. There's a lot of there's a bunch of them.
Yeah,
hundreds of beavers.
It's more and more of like a platform as Hollywood, I guess, gets more and more boring. More of these people are getting picked up, and maybe this one's a bit too out there for. Because I don't know if he's done much after this. If this did release in 2019, I see one other feature he's released, but have you seen this one, the Tiny Cinema movie?
No.
I guess based on that show. I don't know if it has quite the response that Butt Boy does, if the concept carries it quite as well.
It doesn't. But I could watch it. We'll see. Just out of curiosity, I guess.
Because there really is nothing like it I was trying to think of like more absurdist comedies, like a Swiss Army Man or The Lobster, but it's nothing like this.
No. I kind of got reminded a bit of The Substance on this watch. Just
Really?
well, yeah, because the commitment of where they take the story, and also, the blood on the crowd at the end. That's a little bit of a trope. It's happened in like other movies too, but just, I guess, recently having watched The Substance and seeing that now, I'm like, I think that is kind of also an explanation of what I think would carry this movie into like a broader appeal or greatness, is if it had the same production value and filmmaking talent as The Substance. I think that like if this same concept was directed by Coralie Farge, then everybody would be talking about it. Maybe
I'd even be willing to say the same director, but maybe put a few more zeros on the end of the budget.
I mean, if we,
to be honest,
what we got for 150,000 is pretty
because that is exceptionally low.
Yeah.
Taking that into account, that is impressive. What they managed to do with, like, it's less repetitive than Joker. Like, you're going to all different places and locations, and you're going in the cave, man. You're going in the butt boy. It takes you all over the place, and
it's a journey.
There's even like a genuinely kind of impressive, again with the budget, like police shootout scene.
Yeah,
which is like not what I was expecting. Again, from a film of this budget, and that's sort of a confidence going on as well with that late title card, and like, oh, you actually have somewhere to take this, and you're kind of expanding on the concept. You're making it funnier as it goes along. I was getting nostalgic over the floppy disks, a random weird inclusion for a 2019 film with the butt boy's like the IT guy at his work that he's been out forever, and the floppy disk is a big plot point, I guess, because it has some evidence of the child disappearing from the bring your child into work day scene. I don't know why he didn't just put it up his butt like everything else.
I know there's so many plot like there's a lot of things that don't make sense. He could have arrested him like in front of his wife. There's no reason why he had to like play and pretend as if he wasn't going to. Like at that point there was reasonable suspicion. I don't know why they both left and then decided to have like duke it out in the street. Like, that was, like, right after that
more
scene.
dramatic,
like,
I guess.
Let's go this way. And then they decide to, like, fight each other in the street. Although, what it led to is one of my favorite moments, is when, like, you start to hear the wind howling and the window breaks. It's like, what? Oh, my God. He looks in his side view mirror. He's like, I guess, trying to suck his entire car in through his asshole. But just the wind sound and that shot of his butt is the funniest fucking thing.
Yeah, and then the glass smashing.
Cheek. Yeah, that's like pure cinema. That shot is so funny.
That was another like escalation moment where it's like, oh, you have more to show here, and that's not the last time they do it either. With the whole like the laser tag sequence right before the lead character is sucked up the butt.
And I think with something like that shot and concept, I think it works better as a low budget thing, because you don't. There's a humor to how silly it looks. There's a humor to how it doesn't look
charm,
like professional. In the same way that like Hundreds of Beavers understood its own limitations and then used those limitations towards its benefit. Like, okay, we're going to make this a part of the comedy. That's an example in this movie. Yeah.
And you're not really laughing at it. It's self-aware, it feels like. It knows how goofy it is. It's playing it up in a way that is just serious enough, but it's not irritating to watch either.
Yeah, I think the music actually did a lot for this film. Like, the choice of tone.
That has to be serious. It had to for it to work. Yeah. So it's got this like electronic score that's like pounding like a detective procedural you'd expect. And just having that there is funny, and the same with like the lighting as well, with these kind of harsh colors going on, and it's trying to make you think it's a procedural, and with that character playing it so straight, it does enhance the just ridiculous goofiness of it, like when they're resorting to like eating shit and when they're in the cave to stay alive, and the whole reincorporation of the hot sauce thing. I was like, okay, that's funny, that's clever. I'm glad there's...
What did he drink?
There's more than just the concept.
He drank some like blue liquid that killed the Asian kid.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal actually.
Was it like poison? What was that?
I think I noted it down. It was some kind of tonic. Let me just control F tonic. See if I noted it down. I didn't. Yeah, it said tonic on the bottle, and it had like skulls on it. So I think it was something to do with like clearing your digestion. Or something.
But then it's like, would he want to clear it? Because then wouldn't that make them come in? Like, it melted him. It melted the boy. Like, he's dead. He doesn't even survive to the end. He almost made it too. He was like, he was one of the better characters. I was rooting for that boy.
Yeah, and they show the shot of his dad. Like,
yeah, he's like, he didn't make it. Just with a glance, basically. I felt bad for the dad.
Yeah.
And then we get that fucking the detective's long lost baby grown up with, like, I guess has just been living inside the guy's ass for like 10 years and like won't ever be able to develop cognitively into a normal adult. Like, you're just stuck with this guy. But it's also kind of a happy ending. They're like, oh, and the wife's back. He's like, he just points towards the hospital door. Like, I got our child.
Yeah. No, it's just playing on the tropes of the detective and knowing that kind of formula well enough to be able to build it in and make it absurd to the degree where it's like, this is crazy.
Exactly.
Like in the intro, I mentioned the "it's a fart" line. It's a fart. Like they play it straight to the point where it's like the characters in the scene are like distressed by this happening, and they clearly know it's like something to be worried about. So how serious they're taking it is like just so absurd. It's funny.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's definitely not for everyone. I there's a good chunk of people I've shown this movie that were like, but I think it's charming. Yeah. I think there's something to it.
I think it's charming too.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
There's a certain type of person I would show. I don't know. I don't know what the like litmus test is. Is it like, do you find the title funny? Do you find the first 20 minutes funny? Because I agree, it's not the best thing I've ever seen. It has a lot of flaws. It clearly has the budget it has. But it's also like, what else could you do with this concept? It is taking this concept and doing basically everything possible.
Yeah,
it can.
Yeah, with the budget especially.
With the budget, not being irritating, which is like a big thing for me with like these comedies. If it can just maintain, it's like it's the same reason I love. This might be a weird pull, but something like Gears of War, where it's so dumb, but it plays it so straight that it just makes it funny and compelling.
No, I know what you mean. This is kind of like the inverse of Joker 2.
Almost, almost exactly. And I was thinking like this would be an awesome like midnight movie madness, or like seeing it with the crowd movie.
Yeah, of course.
People who are there for Butt Boy. This would be quite amazing, and I especially loved the resolution too, with the hot sauce, with him lighting the fart and like exploding him from the
and the fart noise when he explodes too.
Exploding him from the inside out, and exploding his guts onto the American flag.
Yeah, the choices with that.
Yeah, it's deadpan. It's weird. It's not like groundbreaking or changing the world, setting the world on fire. But
more than Joker.
Yeah, I'd recommend this before Joker. I don't know. I feel like if that premise is compelling to you, you probably will find something to laugh at here.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really even laughing out loud till deeper into the movie. The first time I was like really kind of laughing instead of just finding it amusing was that police chief scene,
Mm-hmm.
and just how deadpan it was in that delivery of it. It was like, okay, this is getting funnier. Like, you're actually going there.
Yeah, it's a good build up.
It's just so dumb. I just appreciate how dumb it is.
Yeah.
So dumb, but taking it seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody at home wants to see a movie with anal vor in it, this is your film. It's in the movie.
Yeah, I don't know what would happen if you showed this to like a 5-year-old. Like what?
I don't think you should.
Psychological.
But
No.
we could always find
if you
out.
found this in the pile.
Yeah.
Do a little experiment.
Daddy's secret collection. Butt Boy. 20 copies of Butt Boy.
Yeah, when he's like in the hole and he's like holding up the sign, "Days in the hole," bored. So dumb.
I don't know how he counted days in there.
Did he have a watch on? Maybe it's a little,
Maybe.
little number on there.
Maybe he could tell when he's sleeping.
Yeah. When it's just kind of carried by the premise for a lot of it, and just the dedication. Like, wow, you're really going there. You're really doing this. And it was just well made enough, doing enough visually with these like comedic zooms. The editing of it, like after the suicide attempt, going back to that, stuff like that. I don't know, it did just enough to keep me entertained for how goofy and insane that concept is.
Yeah, I would give this a 6. Maybe a low 6. But it's something I enjoy and will continue watching every once in a while. And I think more people should see it.
Every year.
So far, yeah.
I did enjoy it a lot. I'd probably also give it a low 6. I would just preface, I'd recommend it to a certain type of person, probably. I don't know if I'd show this to my grandma, for example.
I'll show it to your grandma.
Well, maybe I should. Maybe the reaction would be awesome.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Question time.
Right, let's do some questions from the Sardonicast community then. If you want to leave questions for future episodes, head over to the suggestion thread over on the subreddit. Just like James Marsden 0472 did. Hello. While this question can be used for both, but the second part mostly for Adam. You guys have both said you guys are nihilists, or don't believe in God. What was it that made you guys nihilists to even begin with? And was it based on truth? Did the Holy Mountain add to it, or was it the truth that you connected with? Thank you guys for the content. For Adam, you changed my life and made me maybe a more thoughtful person, and I love you guys for it.
Thank you.
I don't know if I can only speak for myself, but I don't think I've ever described myself as a nihilist anywhere.
I don't think I've ever described myself as a nihilist.
I think they're putting that on us.
A bad memory.
Like, in fact, the concept of a nihilist has always been kind of funny to me because of The Big Lebowski. Like, that was the first time when I was like 12 and saw that and was introduced to it. I've done deeper reading on it since then, obviously, but it's not really my personal philosophy.
Yeah. So, okay. Dictionary according to Google. The rejection of all religious and moral principles in the belief that life is meaningless. I don't think that describes me. I think that no. You can make an argument that life is meaningless, but it's the meaning that you give life that is like meaning is subjective, right?
Yeah.
So what you can have profound meaning in anything. It's just what you give it or what you consider it to be. You know, I have my own moral principles. They're not from religion, but yeah, I don't think that life being meaningless drives me to reject morality. And I don't even think that The Holy Mountain is a nihilistic movie.
And that's not what I took away from it either.
It's kind of like a spiritual movie. It's like a lot of my favorite films, The Holy Mountain, Synecdoche, New York, are kind of, they're things that are more like a reflection of yourself. They give you the opportunity to find out more about yourself through the film by showing you what you take out of it. if that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear that. There's enough to interpret about it. It's loose enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious then on the religious aspect of building up ethics, and that's like constantly debated, right, and brought up. Like, how can you build it on anything if religion never existed or wasn't a thing, right? And I find that interesting to think about too. And part of me thinks it's almost like a human necessity to, at some point, create religion to not go insane. With like self-awareness and expanding groups beyond just a town. Religion allows group identities to spread globally, in like a social way.
I disagree, but I understand why people think that. The biggest reason why is because religion is constantly enforcing that idea. Religion is constantly, like, you participate in any religion. You go to church, you read the hymns, you start chanting, and you actually think about what you're saying. A lot of it is like, oh, we are worthless without God, and my life would be bad without religion, and every good thing in my life is the product of religion, and every bad thing in my life is because of the absence of religion and because I don't have enough faith, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's an idea that is constantly drilled in through many of these religions. And because it's so present in society, it's very difficult for people to imagine a lot of societal aspects that religion does provide in some sense. It's difficult for people to imagine what would that be like without religion. But if you break it down into individual attributes, individual positives that we get from religion, right? Let's say one of those things would be like charity work, right? So a lot of churches do charity work, chic temples give food to the homeless, right? That can exist without religion. A sense of community, right? That can exist without religion, but you need to put in a bit more of an effort to actually get that in your life if you're going to do it without religion, because religion is like the base default.
It gives you a framework.
Like, oh, go to church, and then this is my community, and it's just the thing you do because other people have already been doing it, right? Morality, that wasn't invented by religion. Religions have had to adapt to our sense of morality, right? That's why religions keep getting updated, is because we've grown past a lot of the very outdated, archaic, like, oh, you can, as long as you beat your slave with this size of stick, that's cool. And child marriages are awesome. like we've kind of
sort of picking and choosing depending on the
and so people some people might find this ridiculous, but I encourage people to actually like think about this concept that I'm about to say. I think that there's a lot of parallels between religion and the furry fandom, because all of these individual aspects and traits that I've broken down can be found within these niche subculture things like the furry community, right? I feel like I do have very much a community of people through that. There are charities, there are events. There's, like the furry mecca is like Anthrocon, right? We have our own interests, our own lingo, our own like celebrities even, and there is like a sense of connection. Those things exist, and if you break it down, they're basically the exact same things that you're getting from religion, just without the insistence that there's some sort of supernatural thing happening, right? Otherwise, literally every single thing in the checkbox is met. So yeah, I'm glad that I have my outlet for those things and my sense of community and my, kinship and all that. And it sucks that this type of thing is not readily available for everyone. Like, I don't know how many niche communities or subcultures are going to offer that, or how easy it is if someone is, let's say, looking for a sense of community or deeper meaning and connection with other people. I don't know how easy it is for the average person to be able to find that. So maybe religion is just the easy answer for a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I can tell you from experience, it's difficult. That's just something I've always felt like I never like belong anywhere. I don't have like a community like that outside of my family or whatever. And I guess I have depending on how you look at it, the luxury to have never had any form of religion really kind of shoved down my throat, or through my experience growing up, it was just not something. But I also can't, where I get stuck is just like, that only comes from living in a country where we are non-theistic for the most part. Yeah. Like as far as a lot of countries are concerned. But the Christianity is deeply rooted in what we were. Yeah. So it's culturally, almost seems like some form of like a cultural evolution type change. And you can argue about what's good and what's bad about that, but you kind of hit the nail on the head with some of the things that are lost, I guess, like this group identity, this sense of community or whatever is more of a struggle outside of that.
I think that is something beneficial that like most people would get something out of, and I think most people to some extent even need.
It's a basic human need.
Our brains are wired from like, I don't know, tribes and villages, not not this modern day weird mess of society where everyone's like cold and distant from each other, and our sense of like connection with others is like through the internet, you know?
Yeah, and we form micro communities, and there's like cult of personalities in ways that are so accentuated or possible in ways that were never before. It's just like, I don't get how you get to this place without religion being there, because we can't even argue from the opposite, right? Because it is a concept we just created, and it just, in the steps to get here, it was part of it, and it was kind of how we organized group identities and group ethics and morals with like, killing is bad, and that is a rule, and we need to keep that as a rule for the group, and these sort of things, and like you filter out as time goes on.
I think we can have the exact same thing without religion, and this is evidenced by, I don't know, most people who are religious don't seem like that attached to the actual beliefs of the doctrine anyway. You know, that two people will get married, and then one will be like, I want to raise the kids Catholic, and the other one will be like, okay, again, it doesn't matter. Like, people change religions. Some people will go like, I think I'd like to be a Jew, actually. And then they just change religions. And it's like, it's not really about the details at the end of the day. It's about the identity, right? It's about the community, which is a lot of things. That's what politics is too, right? It's not about the policy. It's about the identity. That's something that like a lot of people clearly need. And I don't know, maybe I think if we lived in a world where it was more socially acceptable to do that without calling it religion, then more people would do it, right? I think you could get the exact same thing signing up for fucking, you know, flying spaghetti monster or Satanism, or, you know, like any one of these, not really a religion, but still a community sort of things. But it's kind of, it's kind of socially ostracized. It's not really seen as a norm, whereas pretending to believe in you surviving your own death and in that God's watching you masturbate, that's more normal. So people do that.
Yeah, I guess I just can't relate, because I've never lived in a space where that is normal, and like just growing up, it's just not really part of the conversation. We did like religious studies and speak to religious people, but it's different, I think, in the UK, at least where I am. I like thinking about it, especially like how it's manifesting in these online spaces. But like, how do we get
like
here?
In what way?
The fact we do form these micro communities and just these patterns of needing a group identity, needing to find your in-group, and there's just, everyone has that innate want and need, even someone like me who is not religious, but feeling like that itch, or like something's missing, especially like I look around my local communities and so sort of like insular and about like a single person, whereas that's kind of like, yeah, I need my money for my Range Rover, and I don't care about the society I'm in that I'm driving around. It's just about me, mine, which I don't know. It doesn't seem like that attitude is manifesting in healthy ways as far as like these social contagions and sicknesses that seem to be, I don't know, like people are like going crazy out there in ways that the internet seems to have enabled.
Yeah, it's definitely not making it better for a good chunk of people.
Yeah, because then I guess you can. It's why things like flat Earth are like being talked about again. Whereas I remember being taught about how absurd that was, like in primary school. Like, yep, people used to think it was flat when we didn't know much compared to now. It's like, well, now they have a platform to find other people that think that is the status quo, and I don't know.
Yeah, that's their in-group. That's their sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
Is people that don't understand globes.
Yeah, and like just I feel like that's why conspiracy theories and things like that are also so popular too. 'Cause people build in-groups around them.
Exactly. And again, it's more about the identity at this point than it is about the actual substance.
Yeah, it's almost like it doesn't even matter what it. Yeah, and like just the dissonance of that. I don't know. It's crazy to watch and like and observe, but like I just feel like I don't know what part I play in it, where I sit in all this mess. It's like fascinating to watch.
Well, you've been to 2 furry conventions already. Third time's the charm. I mean, the furry community is like a great community in the sense that like you don't even really have to be a furry to just hang out with furries.
Well, as far as like, yeah, accepting friendly, lovely people who aren't judging you is definitely, from my experience of it, a nice environment for that. That's like quite unique, because a lot of the time the like cliquey in groups are quite, I don't know, they've got quite a filtering process, you know, like you have to check these certain boxes or whatever to be in it. So I don't know, I find it fascinating, but there's something scary and sad too. Like where it takes us, I guess.
Another parallel with religion. Fucking anybody can be a furry. You can just call yourself one, and I guess that's what you are. Yeah.
So does that answer the question? I feel like we went down a lot.
What was the question?
It was
about calling us nihilists.
Why are we nihilists or don't believe in God?
I don't believe in God because I don't have any reason to. To ask the question as if it's a given that should be something considered when, you know, like why don't I believe in what was the analogy, like a magical teacup orbiting the sun right now that like nobody can see.
Yeah, it's the spaghetti monster argument,
right?
Too, right?
You could be asking that question. Why don't I believe in any number of gods? Why don't I believe in Zeus? Right? Mm-hmm. It's just, again, the same thing I was talking about with, because people are normalized to like an existing concept of religion. People think that you necessarily need religion for certain things. And that same idea of just what people are normalized to is the reason why people think that the default is like God, or like that's like an equal playing field question as, you know, not right. As if that's like the default thing to be even considering.
But yeah, just the idea that the religion you believe in is highly affected by where you're born in the world, you know? So if you're in America, you're probably Christian. If you're like in India, you're probably Hindu. Like that speaks to something to me kind of like intuitively.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing.
So and then going back to the ancient world, and it's like, the Romans, like they believed like their own kind of warped version of what the Greeks believed, and it was like their own stories and myth, and I see why it was created, I guess, socially. It like organizes groups, but like it doesn't personally bring me any peace. Because it's like, well, which one's the right one then? Like, what? I'm not all about blind faith. I need, like, come on, show me. Like, I would believe if I could see something, if like an astronaut was like in space and like met some dude in the clouds and was like, "Yo, I made you. I'm the Prometheus god." Then like, okay, maybe I would worship the alien dude who's like made us or whatever. But I don't know. You can't prove a negative like that. Maybe. In fact, that seems more likely to me that there's some kind of alien thing going on than like an abstract idea of a all-knowing God thing.
Yeah, or like a simulation or anything, like literally anything. Like I think that people naturally want to believe that they survive their own deaths, and that's like a big driving factor. It's just people kind of tell themselves things. Yeah,
that's why it seems to manifest from whatever. This kind of goes into the dream movie we watched with like where consciousness comes from and where this like self-awareness like manifests from, and it seems like that is like an obvious coping mechanism to make it more. If you can look into the future and you can project death or something or an end to your experience, then you need something to counteract that or address it to calm the anxiety of it.
Copium.
The copium, yeah, we're just the copium is literally built into our DNA. It seems.
Well, I mean, like, what are the two strongest urges in the human body? Like the most like innate instincts that we have are fear of death and just reproduction. Those two things, right? So, like, you can't control your sexuality, right? And you can't control being afraid of death. I mean, to some extent, maybe. But, like, that's all, like 99.9% of people, it's, right, like,
yeah,
it's the strongest urge we have. So, of course, people are going to make up stories and try to comfort themselves and pretend it's not actually happening.
Yeah, I don't know how we got there, but I also like thinking about that as far as like storytelling is concerned and why it's so like human to do it. That's what like myths are. It's whether you like it or not, why characters like the Joker and the and like superheroes and stuff, they are like a current myth type stories that we spread and children dress up as and are obsessed with. It's just not through like a religious lens, although people treat a lot of these IPs like religions, Star Wars, superheroes. A lot of that behavior is like pretty similar, to be honest.
There's a movie called Zeitgeist, which was in the same generation of like Loose Change, where it was just like released on the internet, conspiracy movie sort of thing. It's from 2007, and there's like 3 parts to it, and the overarching kind of like the main takeaway from it is very like, oh, there's like a bunch of people trying to control you, and like literally the second act is just Loose Change just being like 9/11 was an inside job and right.
Oh, right.
But the first third of this movie, the act 1, makes a very compelling and interesting commentary on religion as a whole. And it talks about, and the reason I'm saying this out loud on this podcast is because I kind of want someone to like fact check me on it, because I'm interested in it and I want to know if like what they're saying is bullshit.
Do you remember what the general gist was?
Basically, the gist of it is that if you trace back similarities between religions that theoretically would have nothing to do with each other, you can see a lot of like similar dates and similar themes and similar ideas. And then basically the gist of it is, oh, they were just talking about the sun. And they were talking about these stars here. And then over time, it just, the telephone game, people just wound up taking them too literally. And none of this was actually literal, I guess, maybe. Right? Like, it's a really interesting...
Yeah. Well, yeah, like ancient societies they would pray to the rain god or whatever, or things that help them.
Yeah. And then you just see it makes that connection with like modern religions as well. Just being like, oh, okay, well, Jesus, Sun, the 12 disciples are like the 12 constellations or whatever, and then born of a virgin, star in the east. Like all of these things are just literally talking about constellations. I want someone to watch that and do like a deep dive or some research into it, because I just don't have the time right now. But I find that very interesting. Even just so everybody else take with a grain of salt. The rest of the movie after the first part delves into some conspiracy stuff, and I almost feel bad talking about this movie on the podcast because I don't know how many people are going to be conspiracy. Well, because I feel like I'm at least able to watch things critically and, you know, not take everything at face value, and even if something makes like a compelling argument, that I don't necessarily like treat it as fact, and that I can
build your whole worldview.
Yeah, and that I'm able to look at and, you know, understand counter arguments to things like the 9/11 inside job stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I've been, especially in the past like decade, been very interested in the psychology of people that kind of fall down into these weird conspiracy rabbit holes and understanding them better. So if anybody's going to watch this, take it with a grain of salt. Also, if you watch it on YouTube, half of the movie is like blurred in fucking post for some reason. I don't know why. So maybe don't watch the YouTube version.
It has quite a few ratings on IMDb. Way more than Butt Boy.
Yeah. Yeah, this was relatively popular at the time.
Interesting.
Yeah, the first third of it is really compelling to me.
Yeah, I like the idea of the sun kind of being a symbol for God, and like we again going back to that dream conversation with the idea of like humans. We like creating things, we make things, we foster things. It makes sense to project that onto our environment, onto what we see. And something like the sun, which warms you, and if you had no concept of what the sun is,
yeah, exactly.
You know, if you're trying to build like a world, yeah, it warms you, it makes things grow. It is like the creator of life, you know, or whatever you want to say. Our entire conscious experience is like built out of a need to tell ourselves a narrative, right? Mm-hmm. What makes up your identity and the stories you tell yourself, right? That's just an illusion, right? It's you having a narrative, like what they were talking about in Waking Life. Like you have to tell yourself a story to connect the little child in the photo to the adult that you are today, right? You have to like make those connections to be able to even associate those two things. Yeah. But then like think about the most popular narratives are normally the most over the top, violent. These certain themes that repeat. You can imagine them getting more and more, you know, like the Chinese whispers type thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just gets more and more exaggerated. This detail is expanded on, this one's left out, and we're talking thousands and thousands of years. So, yeah, who knows what it started as? It probably was something simple, and it's elaborate books and narratives now.
Yeah, now we got Butt Boy.
the zenith of all narrative. Yeah. Yeah, but it's why I'm drawn to like stories and storytelling anyway. Even if I don't get that like profound, I guess, sense of meaning or peace from them, they're still sort of stories to me. But yeah, you think we've gotten all the juice out of that one? We can go to a movie one.
Yeah, question 2.
The Big Scorp 1 says this. There seems to have been some kind of shift in the Hollywood landscape, with auteurs having way more of a presence, like Sean Baker, the Safdie brothers, and Robert Eggers. Then there are directors with significant followings like Jim Cummings and Damien Leone. Large budget movies also seem to have more freedom than before. Do you agree that there even has been a significant change? And if so, what caused it? And do you feel some level of excitement?
I agree with everything except that part where you said large budget movies have more freedom than before. Like, that's not true.
Yeah, I don't think that's true either.
Yeah.
That seems categorically untrue. In fact, with that whole Joker discussion, that was part of what made it stood out, was the fact that he was given carte blanche with $200 million, which is fucking insane. Which is completely crazy.
It's unheard of.
Yeah. Unless you're like Christopher Nolan, maybe, or something.
Exactly.
Maybe he could do it, but he's proven he can get like returns. So maybe that's what they thought they had on their hands. That's WB.
But also,
often working with.
As we said, it should have made $1 billion just with the word Joker in the title. So
took too long. Maybe if it came out in 2020.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, these smaller directors having followings. I don't know if it's true that it's easier now to make a movie and get your movie seen than ever before. And so I think that there's more voices to be paying attention to at this point in time. I don't know if those voices are necessarily more prevalent or that there's more people paying attention to them than before. I guess maybe, with the internet, there's more of a conversation you can see in, like, I don't know, like if you're on the movies subreddit, people will know who Ari Aster is, but they might not know who Jim Cummings is, right? They'll know, a good chunk of people will know who the Safdie brothers are. But I think that, like, I don't know, even if you go back to like the 90s, it was also kind of a niche thing, Kevin Smith's first movie came out, like that. How big of a hit was that? But there were filmmakers that people were paying attention to back in the day as well. But it was just like a different medium in terms of like how to pay attention to things. Just the internet wasn't as baked in.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like an enormous Hollywood ending shift, when you still look at, like, I just got up like the top 10 films, right, as far as box office is concerned of 2024. Inside Out 2, Deadpool, Wolverine, Despicable Me 4, Doom Part 2, Godzilla, X Kong, Kung Fu Panda 4, Beetlejuice, Bad Boys, Ride or Die, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Twisters. Maybe if like Civil War was in there and other smaller movies like Long Legs or something, then maybe. It's not like those aren't successful movies, but I feel like there is sort of a disproportionate representation with like the way films are talked about online. It doesn't always mean it's going to be a big industry changing thing. Like everyone, if that were true, then Blade Runner 2049 would be enormous. That would have made $1 billion, but it was actually kind of a flop as far as making money is concerned and how much they invested into it. But there are still more, like, people are really excited for Nosferatu coming out. And
yeah, people are excited for Nosferatu, like probably the same crowd that was excited for like Beau is Afraid, right? Like there are directors to pay attention to, and there's film enthusiasts that know which directors are doing exciting things right now. But at the same time, the average person doesn't know who these people are. So I don't know if it's like a huge shift.
No, and Beau is Afraid like bombed, right?
Yeah, Beau is Afraid bombed. It definitely wasn't enough, just Ari Aster's name to get enough people to make up for the amount they spent.
Yeah, maybe there are more avenues now. Like in the 70s, for example, like you just don't have that choice of making a short YouTube video with a hook that gets noticed by a studio, and then you suddenly have $15 million to make your horror movie or whatever,
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like a recent thing that's being enhanced or exacerbated by that necessarily.
It's moving in that direction, but it's just not quite there yet.
Yeah, but it's also like everyone having a camera in their pocket means that there are probably more films than ever being made. So you also have to filter through that as well. So yeah.
All right, one more.
Let's end on this one from No Emphasis 2902. Movies have existed in just a little over a century, and since then different technological aspects of filmmaking have been adapted or streamlined, such as lighting, acting styles, CGI, cinematography, and so on. What do you think is the next progress to be made along these lines? Is it just waiting for better technology, a new way of acting, a new genre, like modern MCU films? Or is there something unknown that could revolutionize or even antiquate filmmaking, as a whole?
I mean, probably AI, even if nobody wants to hear that.
What would that do? It would still be making like movies with that structure, with that look. I guess it would lower the barrier to entry.
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying AI the whole movie. It's a tool, and like if we use AI to help with some of the procedurally generated or how do I describe this? For some of the very difficult things to do in like animation or even like deep faking or, like some of those like, there's some movies where characters or actors would be de-aged, right? You can use AI for those things, and in the next 5 to 10 years, it'll probably look pretty good, right? Like maybe right now it doesn't look great, but there are things that you can kind of streamline and not have to spend as much money on, and even if you have the same artist working on it, like they would be using it as a tool in their software. Like you have AI tools in Photoshop right now.
Yeah, I guess it has the potential in the same way that giving everyone a phone with a camera in it lowers the barrier to entry to anyone making video.
Yeah,
I suppose you could potentially do a similar thing with that, where it's like, yeah, I can make my own. It looks like a big budget thing, but because of the AI that can replicate special effects or whatever and do things that I can't do without years of training.
Yeah.
Then maybe.
I don't think we fully like grasped exactly what the best route is for what parts of what industries could be streamlined by AI. I don't think we've grasped exactly how it's going to be useful in its best version, I guess. But it's something that's definitely going to be used.
Yeah, because it won't be designed to be the best version. Won't be designed to be the best version. It's just designed to cut costs, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it depends who's doing it. Like, fuck, this is another one of those things where it's like, yeah, when you have a cynical, soulless corporation and their only goal is to save money, then they're going to do cost cutting. They've been doing like fucking AMC giving notes to the Frank Darabont saying, can't they just hear zombies instead of seeing them because the makeup's expensive? Like AI isn't where this started, right? Like this is a problem with the existing like financial structures that exist within art, much less of a problem of the actual technology, right? So if let's say you have an actual artist who only has like $10,000, but they're able to use AI as a tool to help make their vision more fully realized, and it looks good, right? That's the qualifier. Right now, a lot of AI looks bad. But if in the future there's parts of it that look good, and that's the only way they were able to make their film, and they're, I see that as a way that someone can use it as a tool, and it would be a good thing for that person. Right? It just depends on what it's doing. It depends on how it's done.
Mm-hmm. But even then, it feels like technology has a ceiling to as far as like how it can enhance your film, right? Well, like even if you had AI that could just poop out anything you could dream of through prompts,
yeah, maybe
it would still be perhaps a 2-hour narrative with a certain flow to it, with a certain, I don't know, people know what a movie is. Like as far as like dialogue changes, pacing changes, expectations change over the 100 years, but everyone kind of knows what a movie is, I feel like the technology, the storytelling is enhanced, in my mind, like more through something interactive.
Yeah,
like
maybe
VR and whatnot.
VR
I
can
did
have
this
some cool stuff.
when I was at BFI. I did this interactive. It was like a VR experience thing that someone had made. It was called like the ADHD experience or something, and that was kind of interesting use of technology to tell a story, and it was like playing anecdotes while what I was seeing was like these 3D buildings and like people appearing, and the amygdala filled the room and was like text was flying everywhere, and it was like interacting with me, and it was like, this is like something like different, new.
Yeah,
this like a completely different format entirely, whereas like a film from the 40s is still a film, you know, it's still like ABC. I don't know how far technology on its own can take it. You just got to get more and more innovative, I guess, with the writing, with the getting experimental with it. That's the whole fun of being experimental.
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, you just need a talented artist to be using those tools. The tools can change over time. It's the talent that makes the film, right?
And an idea. That's one of the things that like Hollywood suffers with. It's like this, everything has been done, everything. So like you have to have a good idea.
Butt boy.
You know, you have to have a spin on something. You have to be a butt boy.
Just the word boy in there too.
It's that alliteration. I think that's what does it. Like
butt boy.
Butt boy. The way you got to move your mouth. It's just so good. Yeah, I think that's it.
I want them to release Iñárritu's VR movie, so I can do it at home with my VR headset. It was like at Cannes, like in 2020 or some shit, and it has great ratings on IMDb. And there's apparently like no way to get it. Somebody, we need to preserve art, okay? Somebody leak it.
I'm with you, man.
In a video game. I need it.
Is that Radiohead one available? Is that?
I don't know.
Because they did one too, right? Like, okay, no, I found it on Epic Games.
Yeah, fucking show me the thing. I'm pissed.
Yeah. Lower the barrier to entry normally is a good thing for creative people who'd be cut off from, you know, not knowing someone in the industry, or not being a nepo baby, or not being wealthy enough, or whatever.
All right.
That's really the only positive I can see.
If the guy from Diving Bell and the Butterfly had AI to help his locked-in syndrome help like interpret what he was trying to say, he could have written that book quicker. Maybe he could make a movie like that. You never know. Fuck, okay, it was a 2017 film. And it's short. It's 7 minutes. Release it on Steam. You fucks.
Was it interactive?
You ignorant fucks. I don't know if it's interactive. I think it might just be like a 360 movie or something. I have no idea, actually. Oh, it says...
Right.
No, actually, I don't know. Allowing individuals to walk in a vast space and thoroughly live a fragment of the refugee's person. Okay, so you can like walk through it. Superficial lines between subject and bystander are blurred and bound together. It's 7 minutes long. Put it on Steam. Fuck everybody. All right, you want to recommend a movie? I think questions are over.
Yeah, we've done our questions.
Thank you.
And there was actually a film I mentioned last episode.
But boy.
I don't think you've seen.
But boy.
But I'd quite like to revisit and have a discussion around 2002 Treasure Planet by Ron Clements and John Musker. Their dream project. Have you seen that one? It's
a real... I must have seen some of it, but I don't know if I've ever watched the full movie from start to finish, and it wouldn't surprise me if I did and didn't remember.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know if I've seen it.
Let's go. Okay, it was like right towards the end of Disney 2D animation dying.
Yeah, they killed it.
Pretty much. So yeah, let's have a discussion about that. 2002 awesome. Treasure Planet.
Going for the TP. All right, if you don't want to be spoiled for Treasure Planet 2002, then watch it before the next episode. These episodes come out every 2 weeks. You can listen to them early. Go to sardonicast.com, sign up for premium. Also, patreon.com/Sardonicast. Also, you fucking members on YouTube, okay? Do that. You listen early, you support the show. It's cool. You'll be cool if you do it. We've also got a Sardonicast highlights channel. Go subscribe to that. Hit the bell. Do whatever. I don't know. Fucking live your own life. I'm a nihilist. Nothing matters, actually.
Yeah,
Never
this is the
mind.
nihilist podcast now.
Actually, don't do anything, actually.
Yeah, who cares?
All right. Happy Butt Boy, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.